Hi Chloe. Okay, so here is your past life spread. So what we're going to do is look at where we are, what you did with the majority of your time, an important day with the relationship and feelings involved, another important day, the death, and the lesson learned. And we're going to get hints of time throughout. This is also geared towards the question you asked regarding your relationship. And so all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that I have or that are coming through to you. And your job is going to be to try to make connections wherever you can, however you can, from what we're going over here to your current life or situation or however connections you can be made, or however the connections can be made. So what we're going to do is start here. This is the island card. So the island card can mean an island like, Hawaii or Fiji or something like that, or it can mean a larger island like Australia or Japan. When I laid this down, we're looking at a larger place, and it's not a place that is, it's not like a tropical paradise. We're looking at an island that is going to be more industrial, and it feels like we are going to the eastern side of the world. So it's not going to be like Ireland or anything like that. It feels more like we're looking at the eastern side, and it feels like we're going like east and then south. And I'm trying to, because it feels like we're looking at a bunch of islands that are pieced together into a larger island. So it's almost like they're all connected into a large country or island or region, but there are like fragments of it. So I'm not really great with geography, but it feels like we're going east and we're going south, and there are islands there that are put together to look like a bigger island, and they're all interconnected. And I'm trying to get more stuff here. There's something about like the ground. There's something about like working with the land. I'm trying to see the land. I feel like what we're looking at, this place, is surrounded by a lot of nature. Like it's almost like this place was beautiful until people started building or utilizing it, but it's still surrounded by beauty. But where you are here is going to be a place that is like almost like it was wiped out, to like almost like, I don't know, they either built on it or they're doing some sort of like planting or whatever it is. They wiped out a lot of the natural world in this location, even though the natural world is in the distance, is what it feels like. So this also feels like we're looking at something kind of metaphorical. It feels like almost like this person is also, something is taken that is natural from them, but they remember it from, it's almost like having a soul knowledge, how we know deep down that we are greater than just this life, that kind of thing. It's almost like that, like this person was stripped of something vital to their natural, to their essence, but they're aware that it's out there somewhere and they can reclaim it. There's something about that. Keep that in mind. Also keep in mind any connections you can make further than that would be if you, it's interesting, the feeling, because it feels like this life is going to be a little bit dark, a little bit sullen or serious. And so the island connection can mean a couple of things. It can either mean that, one, you feel comfortable on an island setting, familiar when you're on an island setting, so to speak, like knowing that the region is surrounded by water, that it's not connected. Like some people get a little fearful of that. You might feel comfortable there. Or on the other hand, you could be someone that absolutely does not want to go, like, let's say vacation on an island. Like it might be where going to an island for fun is not fun for you. Based off the feeling I'm getting from this place, because it feels like there's a lot of hard work done in this place. So because it was hard work and it feels like a hard life, Here, your soul might have returned to your current life with a kind of a distaste for like an island living or island lifestyle. So keep that in mind as well. So there's, a couple ways you can be looking at this. So let's go to what you did with the majority of your time. So here, this card is usually, it indicates kind of like a life of servitude or slavery. So when I put this down, what came to mind was kind of like this person, and it feels like this person is a female life, and it feels like what they're showing me is this, they're showing me this woman who has, her hair comes maybe to her shoulders, it's always put back. It's always like put back because she has to work. So it's like this woman, and she has like a nice darker complexion, like, like very, very, very tan. And she's quite thin or petite, but she's very like strong, like because of the work she's doing. So we're looking at a woman who is a worker, basically, and they're showing me this woman, there's a constant like bending over thing, like constantly working because she has to bend over, like almost like as though she does have to like pull something from the ground or pick things up, like a constant just back and forth, like just a constant repetition of a motion, which in your current life, if you find that either one, you have really great skills when it comes to doing something repetitively, whether it's something even fun like sewing, like if you're someone that's able to like sew a line with your hand that's very even and balanced repetitively, that's a skill. If you're able to basically do a repetitive kind of skill, it would come from here if you find that you're doing that. On the other hand, you might find that you absolutely despise the kind of work that would require you to basically utilize the skills that would be, it would be monotonous for you. It would be boring. It would be just like soul sucking. Like just the thought of having to do the same thing over and over again. So you might be someone that really likes new things, challenges, changing it up every day or every week, something different. If you're someone that finds that you've had multiple careers in your life, or the idea of wanting to start a business here and try this here and do, you might be a multitasker wanting to do different things all the time. That would make sense if that was the case from this, because of how like just dull but repetitive the person's life is every day here. Okay, so let's see what's going on. So we're looking at this like slavery servitude thing, and I don't feel like it's slavery in the way that like you're being owned by a person and you're just a piece of property, but it does feel like slavery in the way where it's very hard to get out of this life. Like there's nowhere to go, there's not enough money to do anything, you don't have resources or connections, you work so long every day. There's something about, just like, it's almost like nobody leaves this place. There's just nowhere to go, and your family is there and your friends are there, and it's not that it's like a joyous thing, but they're the only joy there. Like, so the only happiness of this place are the people that that you've grown up with, that are around you, because that's all there is. It's not like it feels like there's no fun otherwise. And the only fun that comes, it feels like, is very occasionally. There are like certain holidays that you and your people are allowed to observe based on like respect, and like worship or things like that, like the Day of the Dead kind of thing, like just like things that are, so it comes, there's just like maybe a handful out of the whole year. There's a few times when everybody is kind of able to just not work and relax in a way. Okay. But it does feel like there's always something heavy on your mind. So you might be connecting with that in this life. You might find that you're a workaholic, someone that just feels like you constantly have to be doing something. You might find it hard for yourself to just relax and not think about anything that has to be done or chores or anything like that. Which means if that's the case, this would be coming up as a message for you to try to find quiet and relaxation in your mind and in your body, but also like try to find space in your mind to relax and let go of any thoughts that bother you or because a lot of times a lot of people get caught up in spiraling thoughts that don't go away, and it's hard to break from them. And I feel like if this is the case for you, this would be a message coming up that it's time for you to break away from basically your thoughts. Learn to take time to break away from your thoughts. And a lot of people call that meditation. So you might want to look into doing that just so you can have some like downtime in your mind, because you might be someone that overthinks a lot. So let's go to the first important day here. So already here we're seeing a trauma card. So here's the trauma card. And this usually indicates that something tragic or something very like what's it called, like memorable in a not so great way is happening either to you or around you. And this here is the soul group card. So the relationship is your soul group, and these are people that are in your life over and over again to help you learn lessons. They could be great lessons even though it might be kind of a tragic situation. So we're looking at someone who's in your soul group, and the feelings here are betrayal. So what it feels like we're looking at on this day is a couple of things. What it feels like is somebody close to you, almost like a parent. It feels like a parent passes away, and it feels like when they pass away, you have a sibling, and it feels like a brother, and this sibling leaves. So it's almost like the sibling took the opportunity of your parents passing to get out of this very hard situation that you're all in. And it's almost like the only way he could leave is if he took off immediately, and he did. And so this trauma is not only the death of your parents, but the abandonment of your brother. And that's where the betrayal comes in. But it's a kind of a dual betrayal, because there's these really hard feelings that you're holding, even against your parents, your parent who dies. And it does feel like it's the last of your parent. It feels like your father. So it feels like a father figure that held the siblings together passes away, and it feels like your mother long passed away before this. So you're being surrounded by a lot of grief, which is it's very traumatic. And so you feel abandoned and betrayed almost by your father for not kind of sticking it out and not like living longer, which is, you feel guilty about the feeling itself, but it's like you can't help it, because again, people here in this life are the one treasure that you have. And so it's almost like on the same day you lose your father and you lose your brother, and one is not by choice and one is by choice. So there's a lot of a feeling of betrayed, abandonment, and guilt. So what I'm feeling here is there is a potential that your current relationship, it could be the brother, it feels like it could be the brother that we're speaking of, possibly, because we're looking at abandonment, and it feels like if there's anything going on in your relationship where you're feeling like a fear, almost like even a fear that has no reason for it, of abandonment in any way. You might be someone that really needs your partner to constantly assure you that you are special and you are the one and you are the only one for him, and you are his treasure and that kind of thing. So if that's the case, if you find that you are someone that needs that constant verbal reassurance from your partner, it would make complete sense because we're looking at someone here, your past self. So this is a soul memory of this massive abandonment by someone that you trusted to be there for you at the worst of times and best of times, so to speak. Your father passes, you expect your brother to step up and be with you and help with the funeral arrangements or the grieving process, but then this person goes away. So again, in your current life, if you have a fear, even an unfounded fear of abandonment or feeling unworthy, feeling like almost like you have to cling to the relationship or cling to the partner for no reason other than you feel like it's so precious that you don't want it to go, that kind of thing, that would make sense. It would come from this massive abandonment. I mean, you might, it feels just very emotional, it's very emotional, but there's also another thing that could be coming up too, is you might be someone as well who can quickly numb yourself to feeling things, okay? So let's say that someone hurts your feelings, and it could be your partner unintentionally, or it could be a friend, or just someone who's mean, and they hurt you emotionally in some way, either by an action they do or an inaction, something they don't do that you feel they should have done, or whatever it is. You might be someone that can really quickly put up walls and not speak what you're feeling, not verbalize how their actions or inactions affect you, either to them or even to yourself. There might be this slight kind of wall that you even put up for yourself, like almost like to be in denial of feeling a certain way or feeling bad or whatever it is. Keep that in mind. If you are someone that does this, it would come from here too, because of the massive traumatic effect. It's almost like a protective measure that your ego and your heart and soul puts up these walls. So if you find that you and your partner may have a disagreement, or he might do something that really bothers you or that hurts your feelings, if you are finding that you do put up walls and you don't express to him immediately what he did to make you feel a certain way, then this would be coming up as a message for you to start to try to learn to process emotions quicker and verbalize what is happening. Because people, especially partners, romantic partners, even though we can be so in sync with them and so in love and everything's fine and we're on the same wavelength, but it doesn't mean that they can read our minds. They're still their own individual human being. No matter how bonded we feel with them, they're still an individual. And a lot of times with males, they're not very quick to pick up on things. And also, again, they can't read your mind. They can't read our minds. So this speaks to being able to verbalize in a civil manner what you're feeling, not blaming them, not saying you did this to me and you are just making everything a mess and blah, blah, but more like, hey, I feel this way. When you did this, it made me feel this way. And, it makes me feel like you don't care, or it makes me feel like, we're not on the same page, and I want to know, please tell me why you did this, and can you not do it again? Basically it's just try to have a civil conversation instead of putting a wall up, or instead of accusing, because we're looking at someone here who has a flash of this hot anger and then a total numbness. So we're seeing someone go from one emotional spectrum to a whole nother emotional spectrum with no middle. So you might find that you are someone that blows hot and cold, or you're someone that goes extreme to extreme, and it's hard to meet in the middle. So if that's the case, if you're honest with yourself and that's where you are, then this is a message for you to learn. One of your lessons, to learn to process that middle area and find a nice medium middle area where you're able to feel certain feelings but not have them overwhelm you, and be able to verbalize what you're feeling and what you need from your partner. Okay? So keep that in mind. So there's a few connections you may be able to be making from this very emotional day. Okay? So let's go to the next day. So here we're looking at the War card, which can mean a war, like a literal battle kind of thing, or it can mean like an internal struggle. So let's go to the relationship having to do with the War card, and we're looking at a spouse. So we're looking at spouse, which can also mean partner. It doesn't necessarily have to be marriage material here. It could just mean like a romantic partnership, and the feelings here are neutral. Okay, so what's very interesting here, we're staying internal because we're looking at we're looking at someone who has to mask their emotion, not only, you know, with what goes on here, but their day-to-day. It's a hard living, so you can't complain all the time about it. You have to keep mum, you have to keep quiet. There's no room for complaining because you have to get things done. So that can also speak, again, if you find that you are someone that does put up a wall or doesn't verbalize what they need, or is quiet when they should be expressing themselves. Basically, you might have issues in this life with expressing yourself, and that would mean that this is coming up as a message for you to take advantage of your current life to learn to express yourself in new ways, in better ways. But anyway, here we're going to an internal war within yourself. So torn, because what's happening is there is someone that you do pair up with shortly. It's like soon after this, like almost like within the year, but it's only for comfort's sake. It's to have a companion, because all your companions of your household have left you. So it's almost this knee-jerk reaction you have to go find someone to love, and someone to love you, someone to be present for you here. So there is this quiet affection in this relationship, but it's nothing like great love. It's nothing like overly romantic, because remember, you're both in the same situation. As far as work goes, it's a hard life. You don't see each other during the day. You see each other at night when you come home. It feels like the living itself is very simplified. It's very there's not a lot of extra anything really. It's just simple, which is okay. But it can also connect to you in your current life. You might be someone that really enjoys, this might sound weird, but you might enjoy shopping. You might enjoy collecting things. You might enjoy material things, because here there were none. So you might take a lot of pleasure in being able to own things that are pretty, that bring you pleasure, even if you don't need them, because you couldn't afford it here. So keep that in mind as well as a little connection. But anyway, the neutral card comes in because this relationship, again, it was done kind of more out of necessity. You needed affection, you needed companionship, and this person did as well. So it was a really nice pairing up. And again, there is a light love, a light affection, but the neutral comes in because it's not like, it's not like you met and there was passion and lust and love. It was a necessary companionship. It was needed because you were abandoned here and you needed this presence. So again, just connect however you can to that. But I do feel that your partner currently was the brother here more so than the partner here. At first I thought, I pulled the spouse card, it could be this. And a lot of times it really is. When a client wants to know about their partnership, it will be the spouse card, but in this case, I feel very much it was the brother card, and it also would make sense too that you two would be together in this current life, and you guys would come together almost like him and you fixing the karma there of him abandoning you and you blaming him for the abandonment rather than letting him go and live his life and holding that grudge. So it could be that you two have been put together again to fix this karma, for you to kind of, if you find that you are holding on to him very hard, to let him go, because you want to. Not let him go like, bye, never see you again, but just like let him go as in like, let him be his own person, let him, basically like give him freedom if he needs freedom, so to speak, if that makes sense. Like, you know how we, sometimes partners have a tendency to be territorial and possessive and demand to know where they are and da-da-da. And if you find that you may be like that even a little bit, just release the reins a little bit if you feel that connects with you, and you'll find that things will flow even easier because you're giving him the freedom that you didn't give him emotionally here, and he's back with you to show you that he's found you again, he's there for you, he's not going to abandon you again, because his contract in this life would be to make up for the karma, that he won't abandon you again, but it's like a balance. So he won't abandon you again if you give him freedom, you see? So if that connects with you, then that would make a lot of sense based on what I'm feeling here. But also, they're showing, I feel like this also, you know, whatever connections you can make with this part, do. But what I'm feeling is that they're showing you this very neutral, nice relationship here that's just very neutral. It's not rocky. It's kind of dull, actually. It's nice, but it's dull. And they can be showing you that you had to take that relationship in this life, but you don't have to do it in your current one. So in your current life, if you find your relationship or partnership has more passion in it, or you're striving for more passion, go for it, because you didn't get that here. So it's almost like whatever you don't get in these lives that we see here, you come back to get what you didn't get there, and you deserve it. So if you want a passionate relationship, then you need to, again, learn to express it and go for it. Make it happen. You can make it happen. Even, you know, it doesn't mean you have to go find a new one. It can mean that you just have to express yourself in a way that brings it about in your current life, okay? So keep that in mind. So let's go to the death here. The death is a murder card, which just means intentional, and it feels like a lot of times the intent comes from the person. So I don't feel like another person murdered you. I feel like you murdered yourself in a way, and I don't know if it's complete like suicide, because it feels almost like the kind of thing where you might have like had, like, you were so sad and depressed that whatever alcohol was available, maybe you drank yourself to death kind of thing. Like, you just, basically it feels like you poisoned your body to kind of quicken up the death process. Not that you poisoned yourself in one go. Like, it's not like you're like, oh, here's poison and I'm going to take it and I'm going to die now. Not like that. But like, you ate and drank in a way that would have made your life last a lot shorter than it could have, just because of how miserable you were. You just didn't care. So that can connect to you in your current life if you, one, have digestion issues, like with your stomach or when you eat, if you're sensitive to certain things like alcohol or gluten, or things that are hard to process, you know, in your body. That would make sense too, because of the eating and drinking that was done here to shorten the life. Your body would come back with a soul memory that it's sensitive to those things because it wants to last longer. So also, so yeah, allergies, sensitivities, stomach problems, or what is it? Oh, there was one more. Sensitivities, Oh, it could be also, sorry, it could be that you are someone that actually likes to be very healthy or wants to be very healthy. Like, you might have a urge to work out or to eat organic, or, you know, eat very healthily, and that could be it too, because here you did not do that. So you could be coming back wanting to kind of aim towards a more healthy lifestyle to last longer because you didn't hear. So that could be it as well. So make connections wherever you can there. Oh, as far as the time goes, this does feel like we're looking at an industrial time. So it could be, I would say honestly, this could be your last lifetime. Because it feels like we're looking at the 20th century. That's what it feels like. Or the end of the 19th century. But it feels more like we're looking in the 1900s. So it could be your last life or a life before that, because some lives go quicker, you know. But this is definitely more of a modern era. Now, the lesson here is boundaries, which is really incredible because it's talking about boundaries in a couple of ways. Boundaries of yourself as far as the expression goes. You know, we're working on expressing yourself in a new way, in a better way. So that would mean that you'd have to rework your boundaries. Also, we were talking about walls, putting walls up. So those are boundaries in themselves. So these are literal and metaphorical boundaries that it feels like you're meant to be working on based off what we're going over here. So it's almost like a lesson that's here that you kind of started, and now you're coming back into this current life to finish this lesson. Even though we're meant to learn many lessons in a lifetime, this is a big one. So boundaries, creating boundaries, letting down boundaries, allowing other people through boundaries, and then also creating boundaries, healthy boundaries for yourself that would allow other people freedom and individuality. As in, if you find that you are a controlling person in any way, those are boundaries that you're creating for yourself that keep you from bonding with other people. Like, for example, maybe your partner, maybe family, maybe friends. It's a boundary when you're controlling. It's a boundary that you're putting up because nobody likes to be controlled. So you're making it so that there's this wall that you're creating between yourself and others that doesn't necessarily have to be there, if that makes sense. So keep making connections. Other boundaries, let's see. I do want to mention boundaries as far as not allowing yourself, again, the expression thing comes through, not allowing yourself to bond with others fully, which is okay in a way where, like, if you meet someone new, yeah, you should have some walls up and you should, you know, like, test the waters to see how you feel about them. But there comes a time when you need to take those walls down if you want to move forward in a relationship. And a lot of times those walls happen to be walls of communication. So a lot of people have trouble with communication or expressing themselves, whatever it is. So I feel like that would be just one more thing to consider, which I guess we have been talking about expression, but also it's communication, really. So it's like a message of learning to communicate more fully, express yourself more fully, and in a way that isn't accusatory or blaming or anything like that, but more about how you feel, not how they made you feel, but how you feel in reaction to what another person has said or done or not said or not done, if that makes sense. Because it is about how you express yourself too. People open up when you're not making it about how they make you feel, but how you feel because something was done or said, if that makes sense. So it's like saying the same thing, but a different way. So it's about learning how to communicate and express yourself, and also allowing yourself to communicate and express yourself in those ways. All right, so keep making connections wherever you can. I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it and were able to make some connections, and thanks for letting me read you.